What's going on, everyone? About 84% of stocks in the S&P 500 closed down in the red today as Nvidia, of all stocks, ripped past its all-time high. Gold and silver are still flying, and we have a giant earnings week ahead of us. So we have a lot to cover today. We hope you guys had a great trading day, but even if you didn't, that's okay. Keep your heads up high. We have a long week ahead of us and a lot of crazy things on this week's schedule. So with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, Mike, the market was pretty insane today. The Nvidia looks a lot different than most stocks look out there. You know, going back to the heat map really quickly, it's pretty insane to see this many stocks in the S&P down in the red, but it's not necessarily the most popular stocks. Like a lot of the tech stocks pretty much did nothing today, but like a lot of the stocks you don't talk about a lot, like Lowe's, TJX, CVS, Target, stuff like that was down quite a bit. Like a lot of the value stocks, even Nike, Coca-Cola, down into the red. But Mike, looking at Nvidia, it was just such a powerhouse once again today and ran to new all-time highs. I know that that's pretty weird to say because the market's been making new highs all the time lately, but Nvidia was kind of stuck. It was really failing to break that key 140 mark, and this morning we had a huge extension up and past there. Now, a lot of people might be saying, Tom, what is driving this news? Mike, I don't really see any crazy news here. Earnings are coming up soon, so maybe that's something that people are looking at, but nonetheless, Nvidia just continues to be the powerhouse that it has been for the past couple years.
Nvidia is being Nvidia. Nvidia doesn't need news to push it past all-time highs, as it's demonstrated many times in the past. You know, there's just a lot of euphoria just still out there in the markets. You know, I think that goes to display itself very strongly considering how close SPY is to its all-time high. So with that being said, Nvidia is definitely getting a lot of strong momentum right here, and that's a great thing to see, but there isn't like too much news behind it. So with that being said, in a situation like this, like in terms of like short-term opportunities, it's all a game of price action and momentum. The more pressure that Nvidia keeps on its all-time high, the more buying pressure it will continue to bring in as it shows strength and it, you know, pops up on screeners all across the world as traders look for trading opportunities and, you know, just momentum begets more momentum, right? That's the main thing that we're trying to show here. With that being said, there are some key levels that Nvidia does have overhead, Tom, so I think we should definitely point those out too.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at it in the short term, there was a good support today around like that 140, 180 to 142 mark, but everybody's like, hey, what's coming up overhead? And, you know, we can go check out the Bookmap on these stocks that are around all-time highs and see, hey, what is coming up today around the end of the day at the 145 mark. There was 1.396 million shares stacked up at that 145 mark. So definitely have 145 on the radar for the next couple of days with Nvidia if it keeps ripping. And Mike, if it ends up breaking past 145, 150 actually has 2 million shares stacked up there. So there's two huge sell walls overhead to keep in mind if we do see another pop out of Nvidia tomorrow. So, you know, if you're day trading options, just be wary as Nvidia approaches those levels.
These levels are brick walls, but if any stock can get through them, Nvidia would be the one. So definitely keep it close on watch throughout the rest of this week, but we also have to hit on gold and silver. I know we've been talking about these a lot over the past year and quite a bit in the short term as well, but these are flying under the radar as well. Gold actually hit its own record high today as it broke past $2,740 an ounce, and at the same time, silver broke past its 12-year high, its 12-year high today as it broke above $34 an ounce. There are two easy ways to trade gold and silver. GLD follows gold. SLV follows silver. If you want to get more advanced with it, of course, you can trade futures, you could trade specific mining stocks and everything else like that, but keep gold and silver close on watch. They are running for multiple reasons right now. Of course, the election fears definitely cause investors to resort to safe haven assets. At the same time, the wars going on around the world don't help with the fear case either. At the same time, the federal deficit is pretty bad, and it's doesn't look like it's going to fix itself anytime soon, which definitely causes a problem with like inflation and safe haven assets for the future, which causes people to, diversify and buy assets like gold and silver that have been sources of protection basically since the beginning of time. At the same time, overall market valuations aren't great, so it makes sense to diversify a bit into precious metals. Keep these close on watch, and I will say especially silver is starting to pick up some real momentum to it, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it is. And, silver's a lot lower in price than gold. It can be a little intimidating, Mike, whenever people hear, oh, it's $1,700 an ounce, right? GLD obviously is a lot better price, but just SLV, even in its own right, like that move from Friday was awesome, up like 4%. And, over the next couple days, if we continue to see a good breakout, there's been some really good runs in the past on silver where like there'd be a multi-week move of like 25% or more. So definitely have them on the radar, Mike. And I'm glad you brought up the federal deficit, because a lot of people are bringing that up lately, because whether it's Trump or Kamala who gets into the White House this time, it looks like the deficit's going to be pretty bad either way, it looks like.
Yeah, just keep kicking the can further and further down the road, right? And sometimes that could seem okay in the short term, but I don't know how this problem's going to solve itself down the line. And I think, again, that's why we're seeing more and more positioning towards gold and silver, because if we do see like a real, if we see this problem with the deficit get worse and worse, it will bring upon some major problems. But that deserves a whole video by itself. But either way, GLD and SLV should definitely be on your radar right now. But over the past week or so, we've seen a lot of different areas of the market start to truly move in momentum-filled ways. One of the areas of the market that has started to move the craziest in the short term are actually nuclear and just, I guess you could say, uranium-related stocks. Some ticker symbols that have been moving in a strong way are stocks like OKLO. This one was up 22% today alone. There's also other companies like SMR, which had a fantastic day. And even like stocks like CCJ, which is more focused on the uranium aspect of it. Either way, there's been a lot of positive news related to nuclear stocks lately, as we're seeing more and more big tech companies like Google, Microsoft, and others get into the nuclear energy industry as they need power sources for their giant data centers. Basically, this is bringing a lot of demand not only towards this industry, but also towards these stocks. As we can see, they are up quite a bit in the short term, and while now is probably not the best time to buy in considering how much they are already up, they are moving better than almost any other stock out there. So this will present opportunities in a bullish and bearish sense in the short term, just scalping. And once these stocks come down more, that's where some more like longer term buying opportunities can come into play.
Definitely keep them on the radar, Mike. I've been looking at some of the ETFs out there. I really like the URA uranium ETF in the short term. It's been popping off. It's actually right at key resistance as well. So in the short term, you could maybe watch that $34 mark. But I will say, though, if SMR stock starts to have another nice leg like it had on Wednesday of last week, as far as an intraday opportunity, there could be a lot of fun in this one.
Yeah, and whether you're looking at SMR, OKLO, GLD, SLV, Nvidia, or any other stock that is moving a lot in the short term, what's worth keeping in mind is that just because a stock is moving, let's say, up in the short term, that doesn't mean to just blindly buy the stock, close your eyes, then pray for the best, because that's not going to work, right? When stocks are moving in a momentum-filled way, they bring upon great opportunities because the stocks trend stronger than, almost any other stocks out there. But to actually capitalize off of this, you have to be willing to change and adapt to those directional changes, and you have to position yourself in a way where even if your short-term thesis in terms of direction is wrong, that you will lose only a little bit compared to how much you will make when your thesis is correct. All of this stems to having a plan before you get into any trade out there, because trading without a plan is like trading blind, or it's like driving blindfolded, right? You have to be able to see, how the trade is setting up to be able to, achieve what you want to achieve. We have this and a whole bunch of other helpful information covered in the StockedUp Discord and the Key Lessons channel. It's completely free. Feel free to check that out. It's one of the best things you could do to, I guess you could say, properly build your trading foundation. But continuing on, Tom, we do have a pretty exciting week, not only in terms of gold and silver, nuclear stocks, and Nvidia, but we have a handful of big earnings reports as well. So what's on the schedule for tomorrow?
Yeah, it's pretty huge here. For tomorrow, we have Verizon reporting in the morning, along with a few other companies. So get ready for a rundown here. We have Verizon, General Motors, 3M, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, GE Aerospace, Quest Diagnostics, and even some cigarette companies, Mike. PM, Philip Morris down there. So be ready for that tomorrow morning. In after hours, I am seeing Enphase and Seagate, which catch my eyes in after hours, along with Texas Instruments, TXN. But overall, tomorrow's not too crazy. I know some people will be watching those defense stocks, but everybody's really waiting for Wednesday with Tesla, Boeing, Coke, AT&T, and I'm sure Tesla's at the top of everybody's list.
You know it, and Tesla's been just chop central this week. Like when you look at Tesla's intraday chart, this stock has not moved over like the past week. It's like just hugging this like $220 levels. So Tesla's just waiting for this earnings release to push it in one direction or another. So that will be an exciting report, but I will tell you, I'm pretty excited to see how Lockheed Martin and Raytheon do tomorrow as well. These are war/defense stocks that, surprise, surprise, have been cash flowing over the past year as they are both towards highs. As we look at these stocks, of course, they have been crushing it fundamentally, but the main question is, will they perform better than everyone is already expecting them to? So these stocks will be pretty interesting tomorrow.
Yeah, they will, of course, with everything going on around the world, and we don't have to worry also just about the Middle East. You know, there's been a lot of stuff also happening, of course, you know, a lot of talks with China and Taiwan, which help intensify defense stocks as well. And, of course, the whole Ukraine situation has also been going on the past couple of years, which I know it's been kind of pushed down the radar a little bit, but nonetheless, that is still playing a role for these defense stocks as well. And then, Mike, you know, people also forget a lot about stocks like General Motors and Ford in the short term. Those stocks are also pretty crazy as much as they've bounced up this year. From the beginning of the year to where they're at now, General Motors has had a pretty respectful move up around 38%, and it's right at major resistance too. So those are a couple just to keep on the radar and watch for tomorrow. If we see a pretty massive breakout above 50, that would be huge. It's a big psychological level.
Sounds great. And, you know, there's just been a lot of bullishness in the market overall over the past year. I saw a pretty cool table related to SPY today that basically shows out of the past 11 months, the market has been up in 10 of those months. And we can see throughout history, there have been multiple other instances where this has happened. And historically speaking, this sort of bullishness and positivity tends to bring upon even more bullishness and positivity. We could see in the columns, you could see how the market has performed, you know, the next month, the next 3 months, next 6 months, and next year, given situations like this. And what's really cool is towards the bottom of the screen, you could see the median and average returns for you know, all of that data. And you could see that most of the time in the percentage higher row, the market does end up higher. So I thought this was pretty interesting, but as we all know, the election in just a couple of weeks will add a little bit of a spice to the mix.
Dang, Mike, I like this column here for the next 6 months. You know, it looks like it's green most of the time, and these percentages are no joke. The average, 7.3%, and the median, 9%. Those are pretty high for some 6-month returns. So I'll definitely be keeping this data in the back of my mind. But, of course, that election, like you said, is going to be a very, very big deal coming up, and I'll be talking about that a little later in the video here, as I do have a play kind of related to that. But Mike, I know that sometimes the historical data isn't always quite as accurate as we've learned through October so far.
True that. As we look at SPY in a short-term sense, what do you have for us in terms of key levels and analysis for tomorrow?
Yeah, today, SPY closed right around resistance at 584, and we're still watching 585, Mike. We mentioned it yesterday. We mentioned it all of last week, and guess where SPY rejected this morning? Within like 17 cents of 585. So keep watching that as major resistance. I'll be watching 586 to 586.30. Past there, as far as supports, it's kind of like the same numbers as yesterday, Mike. 583.40, 582.50, and then 581 and 580 to the downside. Today, 581 acted as a pretty good support as SPY fell and could have been a great target. So some of these levels have been pretty consistent here the past couple weeks.
Beautiful. And on top of that, the economic schedule is pretty much clear for tomorrow, so there's nothing too crazy to worry about, and we have a mostly clear schedule throughout the week. So with that being said, let's jump right into the good stuff, which are some setups and predictions. A stock I'm watching very closely is Zoom, and it is to the upside. We've talked about this stock quite a bit, especially ever since it reported its last earnings back towards the end of August. Basically, the stock is in the process of retesting its recent highs right around the $72.50 area. It is at a key resistance level right here, and it is starting to move in a momentum-filled way. If it can break through this area, this stock can be, it can be pretty explosive. As we've seen with Zoom over the past couple of years, this stock does have big moves in both directions, and the key thing with this one is when it has that momentum, that's when it can truly get crazy. And Zoom's options tend to move in a pretty strong way as well, which I really like about this one. But either way, the stock is in the process of breaking out, and it's at a key level right now, so it's definitely on my bullish radar.
Mine too, Mike. I have had that level on the chart here for a long time. If we're able to get a good breakout there, that could be an awesome intraday scalp opportunity. And even today, intraday, it was pretty awesome heading up into that resistance. I'll definitely keep it on the radar. With my next play, I'm looking at DJT to the upside in the short term. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the election odds have been shifting quite a bit. Now, of course, I'm not going to get overly political or anything like that, but nonetheless, DJT's ticker essentially follows Truth Social, which is Trump's media and technology stock. They have an app and everything like that. You guys can check it out. As of today, looking at Polymarket's odds, Mike, they're putting Trump at like a 61.6% chance to win as of now. Of course, these numbers can change as the news and everything changes as well, but they're starting to kind of distance each other a little bit more than they have. So looking at that, I'm watching DJT back to the upside. A lot of people have been watching this rip back up, and we're kind of consolidating here on this rip. If we start to see a better extension tomorrow back above like $32 and we start to see some good bullish flows, this one could be pretty good as Trump is, we'll say as the odds start going more into his favor. They could end up going against his favor though and end up, making this stock fall a bit, but that's kind of the fun of some of these election stocks, Mike. They move quite a bit based off of the news and some of the different things that the candidates say.
You know it. All right, well, good stuff there. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Home Depot, and it is actually to the downside. So this stock had a pretty rough day today, and it was one of the many stocks in the S&P 500 that closed down in the red. As you pointed out earlier in the video, Tom, basically, while we saw the big tech stocks, or at least some of them moved to the upside, but most of them just did nothing, we saw basically the rest of the market sell off quite a bit, and Home Depot was definitely one of those stocks. As we look at Home Depot, it is rejecting in a pretty strong way off this $420 resistance level, and as we look at this stock's like historical patterns, when it gets to major points of resistance, whether it be, as recent as April of 2024, or even back to, let's say, January of 2022 or December of 2021, when it faces key resistance levels and it starts to show bearish price action like this, it does tend to bleed over for multiple days to weeks at a time. So I'm looking at Home Depot in a bearish way, not specifically for tomorrow, but something for like the next couple weeks.
Yeah, that resistance on the daily is huge, Mike, and I would not be surprised if it kept rejecting here. Like you said, whenever it does reject, it usually ends up rejecting in a pretty decent way. And today was a pretty good confirmation, in my opinion, that it's starting to turn over and there's a good base forming up here overhead on this stock around that 420 mark. I'm definitely with you. So I'll keep watching this one to the downside. With my next play, I'm looking at Boeing to the upside again. Today, Boeing ended up popping up a little bit this morning, and I'm going to keep watching for more positivity out of this stock. I know that they've had a lot of negativity lately as far as the news, and the past couple years with this bad news coming in, you can see how drastically they've dropped like since the beginning of 2024. But looking at the trend line, they're actually bouncing right off the trend, and we're starting to see a lot of good momentum and price action in the short term off of this key support around 150 as well. So I'm really just looking for more good continuations off of this. It won't always be as straight up as it has been the past week. It might chop around a little bit, but for the next week to even for the next couple months, I'll be watching for this support to hold and for Boeing to eventually recover back up into that 170 range.
Sounds good. Boeing is one of those stocks that has had a wild past couple of years, and there's a lot of eyes on it. I know it's been very brutal for this company, but we'll see what they can do. They have a lot of ground that they have to make up, and like you said, there's some serious support very close. So hopefully we see a nice bounce out of that one. But besides that, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have ZIM to the upside.
This one is nuts. It's up 8% today. Look at the daily chart. It's actually right around a pretty key resistance and kind of breaking out above it right now. If it can break $25 tomorrow, keep watching ZIM to the upside.
All right, with the next one, we have APP also to the upside.
Yeah, another crazy one from today, up 9.39%. A lot of bullish price action. If they're able to pop above 160, then watch APP up as well.
Sounds good. And then with the last one, we have OKLO, also to the upside.
Yeah, pretty insane as well today. 22%. Oh my gosh. If they're able to break out above $23, then keep watching OKLO up. There's been a ton of momentum here.
Sounds good. So we have these three stocks on watch for potential momentum plays tomorrow. If and only if they break through the levels Tom listed, the stronger and more consistent these stocks move, the better the setups become. The more pressure that these stocks put on their high of days, the stronger that the uptrends become. At the same time, if the direction's reversed, then you have to adjust accordingly. You can't get caught holding the bag because you just don't want that, right? If the trend changes, then there's no point in still trying to fight those flows. But either way, keep these three stocks on watch for tomorrow. And let's get right into today's $1.48 million big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol OXY. So this is an energy related stock, and the big money bought the 60 strike call options that expire on September 19th of 2025. This is nearly a $1.5 million trade. It has a lot of time to it. The stock is in the process of bouncing off of some major support levels, especially right around this $50 area. This option is definitely riskier than most big money trades given how far out of the money it is, but if this stock does move in a strong way, this option can do very well. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, waiting for confirmation with a setup like this. It would be great to see a breakthrough like the $56 area, but either way, this is a pretty bold trade as the stock is pretty close to some major support.
Yeah, that support's pretty big in the short term. I'm kind of with you where I think it would be best to maybe wait for a break back above like that $56 resistance or something along those lines. The one thing that worries me with this stock is that Oxy has been kind of dipping a lot in the short term and not in a good way. It actually just broke through major support. You can see all the bounces on that support highlighted by these red arrows on the screen here, and it actually just confirmed off of it again and failed to really re-break it the last time. So that's the only slight negative. Obviously, though, the trend can easily change, especially if there's like some crazy Middle East news or something with Israel and Iran, of course, or something with China and Taiwan. Anything like that could change the situation, but nonetheless, I do like the support. I'm going to respect $50 in the short term, but I am wary of that resistance at the same time.
Yep, so keep this stock close on watch going forward. But before we go deeper into today's video, we have to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Zane S. in the StockedUp Discord, who hit it out of the park today with a $49,000 day trading Coinbase. So he said he waited for Coinbase to retrace to the $208 level, and he sniped an entry there. So huge shout out to you, Zane, and congratulations on the record day. Hopefully we see many more great posts like this one from you going forward. But either way, keep up the great work and enjoy the steak dinner tonight. You deserve it. If you guys are new to our videos, welcome. Consider demolishing the subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. Every single day we cover the most important news, information, events, earnings, and things to be aware of for the stock market. It takes us hours to make these videos, and we try to cover everything you have to know in like 20 to 25 minutes or less. So if you subscribe, then welcome to the StockedUp crew. We have a big week ahead of us, especially considering that we're in earnings season, and we have some stocks like Nvidia already moving in a crazy and exciting way. So I have a feeling this week's going to be a great one. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market this week.